Hi, I'm Jeff. I grew up in Santa Cruz, California, a beautiful little enclave on the northern side of the Monterey Bay. Santa Cruz is a town known for its university, liberal politics, beautiful beaches, and funky art scene. It also has the highest per capita in the state of white people with dreadlocks. As a community, Santa Cruz is a bit of a bubble, struggling to remain unique against the conformist outside world. Lucky for me, right? What a great place to grow up. Well, hold on there, Slick. Remember, God doesn't open a window without locking you in the basement. Mine was a particularly dark and dingy basement, known as Jehovah's Witnessdom. Yes, my parents decided to raise me and my sister in one of the most conservative and dogmatic of the Christian sects. Note, that's not Christian sex. Needless to say, I grew up a bit confused. My life was a bubble within a bubble. I'd go to school and get a liberal scientific education, then come home and learn it was all false. We didn't evolve from apes. Nothing evolved from anything. And if there's something you don't understand, it's best not to ask too many questions. Just chalk it up to God and go back to not masturbating. But wait, I spent a lot of time not masturbating as a teenager. I think the saddest part about that kind of strict religion is the idea that sex is to be acknowledged and participated in only in the most specific of circumstances. It must be between one man and one woman, within the confines of a marriage, and only in the front. Never in the back, certainly not up top. Any deviation is unnatural, and against God, no exceptions. But then in the next breath, they're telling me that God created me in his image. And I'm thinking, really? So God is a perverted homosexual? Which is it? God created man in his image. The human ego is unrivaled, isn't it? In other words, we are God-like. Although it's odd that creationists get offended at the notion that we share common ancestors with apes, but have no problem with the idea that God created us out of dirt. The universe is so unimaginably big, and we are so unimaginably tiny and insignificant by comparison, but we need to believe it's all about us. The problem is that humans are so obviously animalistic, we just don't want to admit it. We eat and we shit and we fuck. We're slaves to our physical desires. We're hairy as all hell, but we shave it off and pretend we're not. We're capable of the most disgusting, depraved behavior. We're well-dressed apes with better posture. We're just in denial. And that's not to say that we're not amazing, because we are. We're capable of incredible imagination and innovation. Who do you think thought up the deep-fried Twinkie? The duck-billed platypus? I don't think so. But are we godlike? I'm pretty sure I jerked off into a sock yesterday to a picture of Justin Bieber. I'm not sure if God would do that. However, if you watch footage of the bonobo chimpanzee, one of our closest relatives, this kind of behavior makes perfect sense. All they do is screw everything in sight. And when they're not screwing, they're masturbating. It's a beautiful thing. But my parents were very into their religion and did everything they could to pass it on to us kids. Unfortunately, they had no idea what they were up against. A homo and a slut. And that was just their son. I really don't think they planned on having to be parents to kids like us and were completely at a loss. So when they tried something that didn't work, they did what any reasonable person would. They kept doing it. As a result of my upbringing, I continue to be fascinated with religious belief. It's only as an adult that I can look back on it objectively and with a mature attitude and see it for what it was. Horrible mental and emotional abuse. I also look at other people in different ways than I did before. Now, when I look at a person, I see an animal. I really do. I see an animal, not too different from our primate cousins. Once I accepted the fact of biological evolution and learned a thing or two about it, this became obvious. I overcame the human tendency to see oneself as separate from the animal kingdom, as godlike, and began to recognize the ways we are products of our evolutionary past. This also completely shifts one's perspectives on the problems pervasive in human society. No longer are problems of suffering, morality, life, and death framed in the context of the supernatural. No longer is there any divine battle between good and evil. Suddenly it all becomes very natural, very human. This kind of revelation trumps any had by a religious zealot, if you ask me. In fact, it makes me want to masturbate and take a poo. I think I will. Have a nice day.